Welcome, Mr. Agrawal. Thank you so much for joining me today to this Indiana talk show. I'm so happy to have you here, and actually more overwhelmed to see someone from the Indian diaspora contesting for the city council election, D66 party. That's even wonderful. How does it feel? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe just introduce yourself.
So thank you, Satrupa. Thank you, Indiana. My name is Pramod Agrawal. I'm 47-year-old. I'm a husband. I'm a father of two kids. I come from a small town in central India. I live in Enschede for now 21 years. During these years, I made my journey as a student, as an applied researcher, as an entrepreneur in the domain of digitalization and sustainability. I'm a part of NGO. I'm a chairperson of NGO running from University of Twente, which talks about equality, education, and empowerment of underprivileged. I'm a part of two diaspora-related organizations, Foundation for Critical Choices for India and Diaspora Foundation for Indian Diaspora in Europe, which talks about delivering solutions for problem or challenges faced in India. And I work on a policy-related issue for a better quality, let's say, of cooperation between Netherlands and India in this regard.
Oh, that's very interesting. Oh, okay. So a researcher, an entrepreneur, what brings you to politics?
That's a very interesting question, basically. Back in 2019, I was invited by the school of my kids. It was a parent information evening. And then I first time realized that the school is facing an license extension issue. And there was also little politics involved in those sort of activity. But keeping that aside, I try to pick up or join the forces with the people who are working already on that topic. And we try to mobilize resources together with our diaspora organization and able to reach the top politics, the decision makers in Den Haag. And I'm happy to share that the extension issue was solved in a very short span of couple of weeks. And that gave me this a strong message that people who have some sort of network and some sort of reach should use this for a betterment of society. And of course, I was partly involved with all this sort of charity organization and philanthropic organization. But this was the first time I really thought that I must contribute my knowledge and skills for a city or for a country which has given me so much in last 21 years. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So what are your agenda points for this particular election? What is it that you want to change and what is it that you want to achieve when you are, well, so to say, if you're elected?
I think that's a very good question. I mean, I have to realize a couple of things. I'm sort of representing a larger student and international community back in Enschede. When you look at the Enschede landscape, then it's 25% of the people, which is close to 40,000, the total population is 160,000, having some sort of international background. A city where you have 150 nationalities, even more nationalities living. They do not have a suitable representation in a Kementerad or a city council, so to call. I think what is key here is to bring diversity of perspective and freshness and flexibility for inclusive Enschede. I think and I can elaborate on that if required, but this is the basis which I think can deliver several solutions to problem faced by a city at this moment.
But I'm very intrigued to know this one. Could you really elaborate a little bit on this diversity of perspective for inclusive Enschede? What exactly do you mean by this?
I think you need to give me a little time for that to elaborate. In first instance, it sounds a bit abstract. For instance, if you look at a housing as a challenge, I mean, in Netherlands, the housing prices have enormously grown in the last 2 years, especially 21% to be more specific. If I talk about Enschede to be more specific, then The number of single occupancy has also increased by 15% in last 10 years. That means there are houses which are empty and only one person is living in it. The number of family houses have been decreased by by a certain number as well in last 10 years. On the contrary, when you look at the aging population, which is one of the major national, local and national issue as well, the number of 65 plus people have also grown enormously in this period. At the same time, Enschede being a student city, it's really striking to know that only last year, academic year 2021, we had 60,000 enrollment at a MBO, HBO, NVO level. ROC, section, university, and University of Twente, out of which 6,000, approximately 10%, are outside Netherlanders crying for a housing. So the housing is a major issue. But same time, during last 2 years, COVID has revealed the darker side of our society, where people were facing loneliness, anxiety, depression. I personally know a couple of students who even got trapped by taking drugs and soft drugs, sort of an issue. So when you look at this sort of a landscape and challenge, what you feel that we need to have a much holistic solution from a completely fresh perspective, not just building number of more houses, otherwise we end up being sort of in Singapore, where we build these small boxes of 20 square meters, and that's not a regular life in that perspective. So I think the diversity of perspective can deliver solution there. So if you would allow me, I could also elaborate on that part. So my idea, and of course aligning with my party line, D66 there, what I propose is probably the students who are looking for accommodation can probably find accommodation in nursing houses or elderly care homes, where they probably support and take care of elderly part-time. And same time, the elderly could communicate with the students from a new culture and learn from each other and intermingle, can deliver a win-win solution. That's one sort of solution. I mean, think about worldwide. If you look at South America, if you look at Asia, if you look at Africa, if you look at south of Europe, east of Europe, even Netherlands 50 years before, people living in a family, but the rapid economic growth has led people to move from places, different cities, and there was a need for staying alone. But in fact, COVID came as a sort of a blessing in disguise, and the digital push now suddenly allow us to work from home. So we have to make it possible that why don't family live together, while of course having their own privacy, where the elderly get care and probably the youngest get some values, and of course that's a debatable thing. I'm not saying this is the only solution. What I'm saying is we could discuss a couple of things like that to see that how we can implement this at a city level, at a pilot at least. And if those things get successful, we can really bring it at a much larger level. Basically, like being vegetarian was a little bit not taken so nicely 10 years before, but now we realize that eating too much of meat is no more sustainable, and being vegetarian and vegan little bit in fashion. Same way, staying in a family is not considered positive at this moment in a society, but if we have a discussion around it and try to bring it in a positive way, probably we deliver a much better holistic solution there.
That's such a nice thought, actually, because honestly speaking, these days we are losing out the values of family, the bonds of family, the bonds that we actually learned from our grandparents. So I think that's really amazing. Now that you've spoken really a lot about the students of Enschede, and you're really doing something for the housing for the students of Enschede as well, do you really want to, and you have been a student yourself in the University of Twente, a PhD student, do you have like a special message for the students of Enschede, who, especially the international ones, who come to the Netherlands and have been living here and studying here?
Yeah, I think I have one message, that the students have left their home to come to this country. I think they are all having this entrepreneurial nature inside them. They are the ambassadors of their own culture and a country, and they should really, act to break the boundaries and divide by intermingling with the local society, creating and breaking the myths and probably misconception about internationals in this society. I think they could be the good messenger, and they should really contribute positively.
So you mean they should really integrate?
Exactly.
And well, that's something like. It's like you cannot really clap with one hand. So it's like when a person of international origin wants to integrate, the Dutch people should integrate as well with them.
Excellent.
And in the Netherlands, I think it's all about equal rights, no discrimination.
Yeah.
So is that something that you want to talk about, this equal opportunities for all that this country preaches?
So I'm a strong supporter of equal opportunity of all, and I think that's also the D66 stands for. What I mean is, if I have to explain more specifically, that Enschede as a city council has close to 10,000 people who are international background, or at least they do not hold a Dutch passport. And as I said, close to 25% of the people are having international background. Since they come from a different nationality, different culture, they speak different language, not of them even speak Dutch. Sometimes they are not fully involved in a development of a city, but the decisions which are taken at a city council influence them directly, and I think that is very important to have them included in our decision making. So the key, if I have to break down this equal opportunity, of my focus personally would be on quality education system. I think they should also get a much better exposure and its connection to the job market. But what you see also same time, that the world is moving very fast, the skills are getting outdated. So I'm a strong believer of lifelong learning in terms of continuous skill updating, and which could result into, the skills which are important for 21st century, which would lead us to Society 5.0 in this regard. So, and I talk about innovation and entrepreneurship. As I said, the student who travel 10,000 kilometers to come here, up to 10,000 kilometers, have somewhere in them this entrepreneurial characteristic, and they should and they must rather explore that route as well. Instead of just seeking for a job, could they be a job giver as well? And I think, so my focus would be on this sort of activities when I say
Interesting. But if I hear you correctly, you talked about something called Society 5.0. Do you please want to explain a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think the Industry 4.0, Society 5.0, these are some of the terms which we use nowadays. If I have to talk about Society 5.0 more specifically, then it's a human-centric society where we have a right mix of a digital space and a physical space. And we look a solution from both digital and physical space to solve the societal challenges faced by different segments or the different groups of the society. And then how you can create a more safety, harmony, and the sustainability with a digital and human touch, basically. That's also the deal.
Okay. And if I know correctly, there's a very nice tagline from the University of Twente as well. What was that, Pramod?
Yeah, we talk about a high-tech human touch.
Yeah.
Section talks about living technology. And I think these are all directly or indirectly connected to Society 5.0, human-centric, technology-based society, which will bring, which would to create a harmony.
Yeah. Now, talking about technology-based society, we are really technology-driven these days. But sometimes I feel that it's so important to be humane as well. More than the humanistic society, we're talking about being humane. So I would really want to take this opportunity to ask you, what do you think about the current crisis that's going on between Russia and Ukraine? And where is this humanity gone? Somewhere it's just vanished from the society.
I am a strong believer of non-violence. As Gandhi said, an eye for eye will make whole world blind. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, these are some of the people who also fought for equality and freedom, which I'm a strong believer of. Also stick to a basic principle of non-violence. And I think the Ukraine war must stop. There's no further discussion on that. I think our politicians and the leadership has to take a strong stand there, not just a Dutch, but the global leadership. It has to stop. And I think we should all, with open arm, welcome the people who are flying their homeland. I can only understand their pain and agony, what they are going through. And I think we should welcome them with open hearts in our houses and try to offer whatever we can. And I'm very much supporting this cause and activity. As a matter of fact, on Twitter, I try to make a drive around it. And if anyone would like to join hand, I would be more than happy to work further. So I think we have to be human. Humanity has to prevail.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I mean, there's so many people coming to this country these days. We also some days, packed our suitcases and came to this alien land. We didn't really know anything about Netherlands then. You also did the same, came as a student and then evolved, and now you see yourself as a growing politician. I was very intrigued to ask you one question, especially from the Indian diaspora point of view, because you are from Indian origin. How does an Indian see themselves as, in here as a politician? I mean, you as an Indian see yourself now as a budding, evolving politician, but is it really possible for a common Indian to take part in Dutch politics, to know about what's happening? This is also part about being integrated. So what would be your take on that? What would be your message to a common Indian who has just packed his bags and come to the Netherlands?
I think just keep your eyes and ear open, look around how you could help and support and learn from each other. I always try to take a path which is a bit unusual. And when you look at my journey, being from a student to a researcher to an entrepreneur to working for NGO and a philanthropic organization and a think tank, I realized that for all of us, we have to return back to society. And if your intentions are right, I think you will find a way automatically. And you should not be afraid of taking decisions. And I think we have to come out of our comfort zone a little bit. And I think if the intention is good, I think we'll find our way. I think I don't know how I can explain this in a better way, but that's what I'm trying to do, listening to my heart and putting all my efforts 100% to achieve that. Yeah, I think that's more or less it.
That's really fascinating. We all need to really keep our hearts open and sort of embrace this diversity and be together one with the society where we are living in. So I think it's great, really. So thank you once again for being here and talking about your ambition. I really hope and wish that your the upcoming elections go successfully with you, and that you are elected as one of the successful candidates of D66, and that you really flourish in your political career as well, just the way you flourished in your entrepreneurial career as well as your teaching career. So
thank you very much. But maybe I would like to end this with saying that it's less about winning or losing at this moment. It's more about delivering what you can give back to society. If you look at the larger Indian diaspora, we have close to 200,000 and even more such numbers. Indian diaspora was largely and always considered as a silent community, which act as a sort of a sugar in a tea. And I think they have a lot to give back to society. And I think they should be more active in policy making. Politics sounds but strong. I think if we could frame right policies around it, it would only make our society much better and beautiful world for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's so true. Now that you've said that, just one last question. I'm sorry, I'm not letting you go that way. Just one, any Indian probably would ask you this. Yeah. Now you're doing politics in here. Well, politics is a very negative term considered in India, but even then I would want to use that. You are doing it in here, but what about giving back to India? What do you do in that case?
What I'm doing already through Foundation for Critical Choices for India, the Foundation for Indian Diaspora in Europe. In Netherlands, we have Indian Diaspora Raad, is to see the strong point of Netherlands and how this India and Netherlands can more and more collaborate with each other. India represents 20% of the world population. It's growing economy. It's one of the largest democracy. Netherlands and Europe in general believes in a democratic principles, and I think they have a lot to learn from each other and get benefited for each other. I think there are several sectors where this collaboration can increase, but I think that goes a little bit outside the city council election. But I think one day we can definitely pick this as a separate issue, and I think there are several sectors where I see immense opportunity for collaboration to create a win-win situation, basically.
Perfect.
I think India is a force for good, being a democratic country. Europe was always believe in democracy as well.
Yeah.
And I think we have to also talk about those sort of things.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. And I wish you a very good evening.
Thank you very much.